There's a lot of people still coming in. I'm going to wait one more minute. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening by Katie D'Agostino, who's an 8th grader here at the Waterville Valley Elementary School. I see about 10 more people registering, so I'm going to hang on 1 minute. It's always good to have a good attendance.
Is it okay if I leave?
Yeah, just thank you.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sadie. First of all, I'd like to introduce the head table. We have our Board of Selectmen, Bill Larson and Margaret Turner and Mike Aronson, who's our sitting chair from left to right. Mike's town manager, next to them, Mark Dakota, and next to Mark is Judy Rolfe. Did I say that right, Judy? Rolfe. She's our finance and HR administrator. And next to her is Sharon Sharon, who's our town clerk assistant. She's taking minutes for us tonight. We have a lot of department heads in the audience. I'd like to ask the department heads to stand and stay standing until I finish introducing you to make sure I've gotten all of you. I see Brooke Wakefield way in the back, our recreation director, and Jim Mayhew up front, who's our director of public works, and Chris Hodges, who's our director of public safety, Dave Noyes, stay up, Chris, Dave Noyes, who our police chief, I get to tell him for a change, and Greg Campbell, who's our, okay. Also, everybody, please take a second to silence your personal mobile devices. We've used the same rules of order for the last 4 years that I've been doing this. And the only improvement that I've made to it is it's really a better policy to have everybody come up and use this mic so we can see how many people are waiting to talk. And then the question won't get called so quickly. I mean, if you see that there's 4 more people who really have something they want to say. So the procedure is that after we open the discussion to the floor, that you please come up and use the mic and state your name and then your question. The moderator's rules of procedure are in the annual report. We are on page 29 this year, 29 and 30, I guess. But we're going to be using the annual report this evening. There's a lot of information in it that you'll be referring to. So please, everybody, make sure that they brought their copy or got a copy of the annual report. We have extra copies in the back. So everyone who's a registered voter in this town should now have a voting card. And for the majority of the articles, I'm just going to ask you to vote this way by raising your hands. Some voting is prescribed by law to be done differently, and I'll explain that to you when we get to those respective articles. First of all, I want to report the results of Articles 1 and 2 for town elections that we voted on Tuesday, when we should have had town meeting, the deliberative session. So the results of the town election are Rich Rita as our selectman, Sandy Larson as our library trustee, supervisor with the checklist, Cheryl Moe, trustee for the trust funds, Cheryl Sanger, moderator, Marilyn Clarkson. Article 2, which was the zoning amendment, passed also. And for the school election, Mike Fergal's been re-elected as our school board member, and Brenda Conklin is our school board clerk treasurer and school board moderator. Guess who? So that's it for the official balloting elections for Tuesday. So with that, we're going to move on to Article 3. I want to explain that Articles 3, 4, and 5 are bonding issues, and there's rules prescribed by law about how you vote for bonding issues. So you have all been issued colored paper. So it says 3, ballot 3, that's for Article 3. Ballot 4 is yellow, is for Article 4. Ballot 5 is for Article 5. And I'll explain it as we go along. But I'm going to have you stay in your seats and vote for Article 3, and then Article 4, and then we'll only get up once, and we'll put them in the ballot box once we finish Article 5. Is that clear? Yeah? All right, so do I hear a motion on Article 3?
I move that the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $630,000 for capital improvements to the Corcoran's Pond Dam. Funding to come from $500,000 in bonds and notes and $130,000 from existing Corcoran's Pond Dam capital reserves, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $500,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. So the selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and it takes a 2/3 vote. They put a lot of time and effort into this, and the presentation and background for this will be by Mark Dakota.
In your books, in the town reports, if you go to page 58, you will see a list. I just want to quickly go over a couple of items before I start on this specific project. So if you go to page 58, this will summarize all of the capital projects that we are going to be considering this evening. It also shows you at the top, by law, here in New Hampshire, a town is limited to the amount of bonding that they can do.
Hello, now you can all hear me. We're on page 58 for those of you who didn't hear. Here in New Hampshire, a town is limited to the amount of bonding that it can do. And here at the top of page 58, we have debt service by department. And this is a table that summarizes if you approve everything that we are proposing right now, then we will be using $1,521,600 of our allowed $9,882,000. Everybody see those numbers? Okay, so that's if you approve everything. For the water department and the sewer department, so that's just town operations, town buildings, vehicles, and that sort of thing. The water department and the sewer department are separate. The water department, we can have up to 10% of our total valuation as debt, and the sewer department has no limit because of the federal regulations that we have to work on. All right, so those numbers are shown for you on this chart. And please note that this changes every year as the total valuation of the town changes, because it is a percentage of the total value of all of our properties here in town. All right, any questions on that specifically? I just wanted to go over that first. This chart I know it's a little bit hard to see from back there, but, oops, now it's even harder to see. This chart summarizes our 20-year capital improvement program, which is that big 11 by 17 piece of paper that we gave you when you checked in. That shows you every department in town and every project for the next 20 years that we are anticipating having to do. And when you look at that, the really important part is on the backhand side of the sheet where there's just a couple of lines across the top. That shows, here is the total amount that we have bonded each year. Okay, here is the new debt. So the new projects each year show up on this blue line. The important line, though, for the tax rate is this red line that goes across here, because that is the amount each year that we are going to be paying back on these projects. So even when we spend, well, when you authorize $2,200,000 in this year, if you do that, then we don't pay all of that back in that 1 year. We'll pay that back over 15 or 20 years, whatever the selectmen end up negotiating for the bond or note. This red line is what we pay each year. And the goal that the planning board is responsible for this CIP plan. And they sat down and gave our town staff and myself guidance that they wanted to keep the impact on the tax rate as level as we possibly could each year, so that your taxes aren't going up and down as we pay these bonds back. So we have tried to keep this red line as level as we possibly can. And I think we have succeeded in that. It runs right around $500,000 each year. And that's because as we pay off bonds, right, so we get a big spike when we add bonds, but then we start paying them off. And as we pay off those loans, the amount that we're actually spending each year stays constant. So that is one of the goals of the program. The other goal that the selectmen wanted us to focus on was to cover every piece of equipment, every part of our infrastructure, water, sewer lines, the buildings, all of our fleet of vehicles. So we used to do just a 6-year plan, and it didn't give us a good picture in those out years of what our anticipated payback was going to have to be. And so we couldn't look beyond 6 years on this line. So the selectmen asked us to go out as far as we could, and we ended up settling on a 20-year plan. This includes repairs to all the roads in town. We've taken into account all the water lines, sewer lines, repairs to all the buildings and all of the equipment that we have, replacement of major vehicles, and things like that. So you'll see that this plan now talks about that for an entire 20-year period. And we will update that each year as we go along. Any questions about the CIP? All right. So the Corcoran Pond Dam. Just want to, I guess, we'll get this up in front of them. We have been talking about having to fix, quote unquote, the Corcoran Pond Dam. And what are we talking about? We're talking about putting concrete blankets, basically, over the earth sides of the dam, because if water goes over the dam, that earthen part could erode away, and it could cause the dam to collapse. So the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services has a set of specifications that we have to be able to meet. We currently do not meet those specifications, so we have to make these improvements to the dam under the dam regulations. And believe me, that's not with an N, but I'd like it to be. So we are, I'll explain exactly where the concrete blocks are going to go, but we are going to install these linked concrete blocks, and we're going to dig down, put the concrete blankets on, and then bury them with earth and grow grass over them. So once we get the project finished, it won't be visible what we do. But if the water should go over the dam, if it washes away that top layer, it will expose the concrete and the dam will stay. This is required, as I said, by state regulation, and the estimated cost of the project is $630,000. And we already have put away $130,000, so we're asking for authority to borrow the other $500,000. And here's how the budget breaks down. We have about a 50% design solution that the Department of Environmental Services has looked at, and they are okay with what we are proposing, but we have to do the final design of that and get all the engineering correct. Then we have to build it for $400,000. There will be an engineer on site during the construction project to make sure that we are building it correctly. That costs $70,000. There are some state permits that we have to get. That's what the $5,000 is. And then we do have about 10% for contingency. Nobody currently who works for the town was here when the dam was built. We don't know what we'll find when we start digging, so we have to have some money in case we find something that we weren't anticipating. So what are we actually doing? This is the concrete portion of the dam and the bridge right here. This is the Nordic Center and the beach over here in Corcoran's Pond. So we are gonna, everywhere inside this dotted line here, and everywhere inside this dotted line over here will be dug up, and the concrete blanket will be placed in those areas. This is calculated. They have all these mathematical models that they look at the water flow and everything else, and these are the two spots that they have identified that we need to protect. A couple of things, the walkway that goes down here and then out to the path, we're gonna have to remove that walkway. That cannot be a walkway any longer. Because the blanket has to be smooth, because when the water goes over it, you don't want the water with any downward force. So it's gotta be a level level area over that, right? What we are planning to do, the engineers have looked at it, and we need to coordinate with the resort, but we would replace this stairway with a wooden stairway along the side of the building, so we will still have access to that wall, all right? On this side, we're gonna have to address the area going up to the Golden Eagle. And we've got a lot of work here. You'll notice this area right here represents the trees that are there. Those will have to come out, and they will have to be out permanently, but we will make this the new end of the tree line. Okay? So this area here and a lot of this area will be grass now, and then we will put the blocks, the pavers that are currently in Town Square up to the bridge. We will put those back after we put the concrete down. So the walkway here and the bridge will not change. That is
That
the
concludes
project.
the presentation. Okay, so we'll now open this for discussion from the floor, if there is any.
I'd like to mention that we have been negotiating.
We as the Board of Selectmen have been negotiating with the state for over 5 years on this. The initial plan that they came up with was arbitrary and cost well over $1.2 million for us to look at before they would even approve it. We hired an attorney and we're about to bring this to court, and we found no footing to bring it to court. So this solution is the best that we could negotiate, and we are under an order to do this. So if we don't, a potential is if we don't approve this money and decide not to do this, the state has told us that they might hire their own engineer, do it at their own cost, and seize the money from our undesignated fund balance as they see fit.
Or add it to the tax.
Or add it to the tax rate. So this isn't something that's just come up. We, as a Board of Selectmen, the three of us have worked on this for well over 5 years with Mark and 2 different engineering firms. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, any questions from the floor? Please come up to the microphone and state your name. Okay, seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. Now, everybody stay in their seats. It's not time for cocktails. So, mark your ballots now. Article 3, so that's ballot 3. That's the red one. Mark it. Yes, you're in favor. No, you're not in favor of the $500,000 bond for the improvements to the Cochrane Dam. And hang on to it, because we're going to move on to Article 4 now. Article 4. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 for the construction of a new town entrance and sidewalks and associated road improvements, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $250,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions.
You want me to finish it for you, Margaret?
Of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, so the selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and as it is a bond article, it requires not a simple majority, but a 2/3 majority vote. We're going to be voting on this the same way with the next color, which is yellow. So I'm going to kick it off with a presentation by the Town 4 Working Group. Tom Gross.
Can you hear me okay? Or do you need a microphone? Okay. This is something, I remember coming here in 1966, 67, the first year that they opened up, and like everybody took a left, didn't know about a town in Waterville. I remember taking the double chairlift up to the top and looking down and seeing this town and the old inn. And but I didn't know how you got there, and it always kind of stayed in my mind. So this has been something that a lot of us, for many, many years, I guess 50 years, we've always felt that this was very important to have an entrance. And let me go and this is a guide for positive change. If you go, I'm sure a lot of you have traveled around the country, you've gone to many other ski areas and resorts. There are some spectacular welcome signs. And it introduces and welcomes visitors to Waterville Valley. Right now, they come in, they've been on this dark road for 12 miles, and they enter town. They don't even know they've entered the town. So this is a true welcoming for our visitors when they enter here. And it informs those visitors that they have indeed arrived to Waterville Valley. It's going to also improve vehicle and pedestrian traffic safety, which we'll get into in a minute. It will reflect the residents' pride of ownership. I guarantee you, every one of you, all of us, when we enter this valley and we pass this beautiful sign made out of stone and wood and natural materials welcoming us, it's going to be something that's very prideful to us. So, and the start of standardization of signs throughout the town, color and type of signs, and branding. So we had the pedestrian village study done. The town appropriated $90,000 for the study. This study came back, and their number one recommendation in the study was to have a welcome sign, a sign welcoming visitors and ourselves back into this beautiful valley. On the next slide, the Gateway Project will be located just uphill from Valley Road and Triple I Road intersection. So when you bang the left to the valley, it's going to be just up about 50 yards, maybe a little less. Yeah, you can see it right in here. Oh, there's the little red dot. Yep, perfect. So that's where we plan on constructing it. The town court committee went out with the town and felt that that was the appropriate location for it. It will be constructed of natural materials and will be appropriately lit. So when our guests and vacationers come into the valley, they'll know that they've arrived. We'll create a strong sense of arrival. And again, this is the highest priority recommendation from this study of the pedestrian village study. Greeting for guests, which I talked about entering the valley, and it will attract attention on the skiers. You know, people who come in and take a left, they have absolutely no idea that there is a town and a village with hotels and restaurants and shops beyond that road. So this is going to be the first time in our history that all these skiers that have been taking their left will say that, I wonder what's beyond there. And maybe that will entice them to come in and explore. The project will also have a multi-use pathway, which will be right now on the left side as you come in. And this will be a 10-foot sidewalk, walking path, biking path. As you can see, we also did a study with one on the right side as well. And if this project comes in at the right price, it's possible that we will be able to do them on both sides. But right now, we're looking at the side on the left as you come in. And I think we have coming up a little visual of that. Okay, so, yeah, so it's a 10, yeah, we can go back to the other one. Yeah, back the other way. One more, there we go. So it's going to be, yeah, the next slide. So it is going to be a 10-foot wide, delineated by color and texture. There will be no curb on it. So it'll be very ease of maintenance. I know our plowers, they're going to love that because there will be no curbs. And they've actually, with all this snow we've had the last couple of weeks, they've been practicing in other parts of the valley, and they give a thumbs up. It will accommodate, again, both pedestrians and bicycles, provide a safe landing for Tecumseh Road and the crosswalk, and it will be an education as soon as the cars come into the valley that we do share the road with bikes and pedestrians. And as I mentioned, if funds are available, we would do another 10-foot wide path on the other side of the road. That takes a little more engineering. Drainage issues are there, but it will definitely enhance and make that entrance beautiful when you first come in. So these are some of the examples. You know, in our travels, you know, we've taken we have like 150 examples on what it would look like. These are just some. You know, we want to use granite, natural stone and wood, very attractive. We're also going to but we're going to, in our meetings, as the designs come in, open them up to everybody so that they can make comments and approve them. You know, this is kind of the thing where you get 150 people, you're going to have the 150 designs. So we do our best we can, but as you can see, it's pretty attractive. And this is an example of bike and pedestrian markings. If you've been in Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, this is all over those two islands, and it's very popular. The traffic, the cars, they know that they're in a resort. They aren't in New York City. So there's been a very, you know, a nice blend between the pedestrian walkers, the bikers, and the automobiles. And it's a nice way to let everybody know as soon as they come into the village that this is the kind of village that in town that you are coming into. All right, so everybody in my little world, you know, the grapevine is awesome in Waterville Valley. You hear everything. And the big thing I've heard is that this is a $150,000 sign. Well, that would be one beautiful sign, but we wouldn't be able to do anything else. So $125,000 that we hope to appropriate will go to the road and sidewalk construction. The sign construction and installation is $75,000. The engineering is $50,000. And a total cost of $250,000 with a 10% contingency. And the way that Mark and the selectmen and these great people here who are overseeing our finances, they always seem to come in under. So we'll see what we can do on that. All right, so again, the bond authorization is $250,000. The first year impact will be 0.07 cents on the tax rate, and if you on a $500,000 property, that would be a $35 annual cost on that. 70?
I think that's a half of 35 on a $500,000.
Right, annual, right. Next slide is the project timeline. Select a sign company by the end of April. The sign design will have 2 or 3 options the end of May, and we'll be opening it up for public viewing. Engineering road design complete the end of May, the bidding end of June, and the construction this summer, hopefully completed by Thanksgiving. The next slide is supported by, and that's, you know, a lot of people. I know that the town core committee, you know, we spent an awful lot of time on this project. Again, we looked at many, and we thought that this was the first project, the first thing all our visitors see. So this was very important. So this went up to the top. The Board of Selectmen voted 3-0 to recommend this. The Town Planning Board is supporting this. The Town Core Working Group, the Waterville Company supports this. The Waterville Valley Resort Association is in favor, and the Waterville Valley Ski Area is in favor of this as well. So, I mean, this has been a project and something that we for many years have felt was very important. We've been a town without a sign, a town without a sense of arrival. And I'm excited because this is the first time in 50 years that we have the opportunity to do it. And so we hope that you support it. And I think it's going to be great for the valley. It's going to be great for you when you enter. It's going to be great for your property values.
10 minutes.
Sorry, thanks. Okay.
Thanks, Tom. Here. Before I open it to the floor, Mark Chikoto and Jim Mayhew want to review this project and tell us how it fits into the overall capital improvement program.
Right, so if you take the entire capital improvement program and you look at the highway portion, which is the first set of projects on the form at the very top of the first page, you'll see that over the 20 years, we have projects in there to spend about $2.1 million over that 20-year period on maintaining our roads. And Jim went out and measured this particular length of road. It's about 1,000 feet, so a fifth of a mile. We are using, for planning purposes, about $100,000 per quarter mile, or about $400,000 a mile to replace, repair, and repave all of our roads here in town. We have about 7.42 miles of roads in town. Some of them have just recently been done, so they don't need to be done again within the 20-year period. But for the remaining roads, this is the first 1,000 feet of road that we are going to address. So that's why we have the $125,000 up there for road repairs. And I just wanted to point out that this is in addition to the signed piece of this is also part of our road replacement plan that we currently have. I'll take a question in just a second. So did I miss anything, Jim?
Do you have anything to say, Jim?
Mark said it all, I think.
Oh, good.
Unless you have some questions.
All right, so we'll open it to the floor then for questions. Would you please come up to the microphone, Tom? State your name.
Hi, my name is Tom Ennis. I just was wondering on the I was just wondering in the cost per mile, did that include sidewalk improvements for the roadway improvements?
In this case, the $125,000 will cover the additional 10 feet because this is not really a sidewalk, it's an extension of the pavement.
No, I understand
but that does cover, the $100,000 does not cover specifically sidewalk improvements.
I would recommend that you include the side. If you do the roadways at 7.5 miles, that you make sure you include the walkways as part of that cost and part of the improvement plan.
Yep, we can look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sandy, oh, here comes someone. Wendy? Come on up, Sandy.
It was working. So.
I have nothing to say.
Okay, here we go. So just more of a comment in support. I'm also on the town core group. The other aspect with the multi-use pathway is that it will extend up to Tecumseh Road, which will allow for a crosswalk at that intersection where there is not currently one. We can't really put a crosswalk there now because there is not a safe landing area on the opposite side of Valley Road. So that will really make it easier for our kids getting to school or people going to the rec department, etc. from that part of town. And just also to add, I'm in the square every day. I hear from a remarkable number of people who have never realized that we have a town here, and they're just stunned at how much we have to offer. And this will be just a great step to, a great first step in making sure everybody's aware of all that we have to offer here and what a great community we are.
Thank you, Wendy. Sandy?
You're walking to your husband.
Well, I think everyone can hear me, right? My question is, when I come into
Sandy Larson, Beverly.
Cindy Larson River Road. When I come into town, there's a sign there that says Waterville Valley, home of freestyle ski. Then there's another brown sign beyond there that tells you which way to go. How is this sign going to work into those other trees? It's going to look like just signs. The two signs that are there now have no continuity between them. They're very different. Now we're going to have another sign. How are we going to make the three signs work together?
Mark? You wanted to speak to that?
You okay?
Well,
Go ahead.
I think as we talk about the sign and the initial stage of signage here, we have to go back to the town core report. And when it talks about building a brand and building a sign image, so hopefully all of the signs that are falling down and are in disrepair will be in line with what we come up with as a new sign and a new brand. So like as you go to a Kia or some other resort, you see most of the signs are all in the same colors, the same fonts and all that, and we're unified. So ideally when that happens and someone replaces a sign, they're going to go along with the lines of what we've got here. And hopefully, what Tom didn't mention, if I'll just take a second to bring this up, is I think that by bringing people in to see the natural beauty of our valley, we're going to find more people who think the way we do and want to settle here. And by bringing more people into the valley who think the way we do and want to be here, it's going to bring our property values back up, where they've been declining for a while. So it's part of the plan, and it's part of the step we want to take. We want to take this step and go, yes, we want to move forward and try this as a way of showing people what we are and make ourselves a little bit better.
But you didn't answer my question.
Well, Sandy, can I?
The way I think I answer your question is, the signs will all come together around this one. This will be the first step.
Are you taking down the
Yes.
other two?
Yes, the two big signs, we've already started talking to those belong to the ski area. They do not belong to the town, but we will either repair those, take them down, whatever fits into the look of our new sign. But like Mike says, we're going to try to standardize the signs so that it gives one single look to the valley coming in. So we are going to either change colors or repair them or put different material into them, whatever it takes to unify those signs. Does that answer your question, Sandy?
Well, then that's more money.
Well,
that's not all our money.
It's not all going to be, some of it will be private money. It's going to have to be, it's their signs. And the ski area has a vested interest in getting all of our signs unified and getting us to the point where people coming into the valley see a single message. That's what our whole plan is with the branding. Right, Jim? Speaking out of turn, correct me. Okay. So this is the town's first step. If you look at the entire pedestrian study and you look at all the recommendations in there are a lot of different steps that we need to take, not just signs, but addressing sidewalks and pedestrian bike paths and a whole range of things, lighting, all of those things. We're going to take them, if you look at the CIP, we've got them, this is the start of a program that's going to go over many years to make these improvements. If we want, property values went down in 2017. We've got to take steps to improve things so that it is more attractive to come in here and people are going to be paying higher amounts for properties. That's how we're going to get those property values back up. This is the first attempt to do this. The road coming into town really doesn't look very attractive right now. We got a bunch of broken, dead trees on the left-hand side there. We want to clean them up, put a nice sign in there, fix the road, fix the sidewalk. It's going to make it more attractive to bikers, to pedestrians. We're trying to do a lot in this one starting project. Sorry, didn't mean.
Mike Capel?
Yeah, I think Mark said something that's very important and raises a question that I have, and that is, this is the beginning. Now, it's been a long time since I did math, but I think you said that this is about 1/5 of a mile. We have about 7 miles. So that's something like 35 times. So if I take 35 times what you say, $150,000, is the rest of that money in the budget you provided? And if not, where does that money come from? How is it going to be funded? Why is it not in the budget going forward? Because I think that if it's not, I've biked around here. Let me tell you, having it only for the first 1,000 feet doesn't make it. I've been run off the road here more than once. We have things that go on one side and then the other side. Is that taken into consideration here? If you go by, everybody know where I live? If you go by where I live, you'll notice that behind Black Bear, the sidewalk there can't even be plowed. So they just kind of pile it up in front of our street so that we can't see. It's not our sidewalk? Wait, hold on. It's not our sidewalk? It's Black Bear sidewalk? So that means we have to go and now pay to put a whole new sidewalk in? Wait. You answered my question.
Let Mark clarify that. Do we own that sidewalk?
Which sidewalk? I'm sorry, I was reading.
I'm looking at the sidewalk behind Black Bear.
That is on private property. That is
So
not
right
in the
now,
town right
now, when
That's
people,
correct.
instead of coming on any sidewalk whatsoever,
Yes.
are walking in the middle of the street,
Yes.
that's going to continue to happen?
No, that is not. So,
So wait,
okay.
Mark, this is my problem.
Mike, your 3 minutes are up.
Okay,
Where's the money?
I'm trying to answer your question. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, if you look at the very first, oops, sorry, on the wrong page, on this wrong side of the page. Lines 1 through 8, Mike, on this plan, there is a total, if you go over here, of $2.1 million. Okay?
That's all for this sidewalk.
No, it is for road surface replacement, repairs to roads, and everything else. And as I said at the start, that is not for all 7.42 miles because we've already done roads. So we've done roads over the past 3 or 4 years. They are not included in this. But there are roads specified over here that we have specific projects for. And there are others, right? Line 7, where it says road repairs other. Those are for the unspecified sections of road that we have not got a specific project for yet. So there's $1.1 million just for all of those other roads, other than these specified ones, which include, there's a little table down here, Cascade Ridge, Snows Mountain, Moose Run, Valley Road, Tecumseh Road, Snows Brook Road. Those already are specifically identified to repave. The other roads in town will be addressed as we fill in this plan and get closer and closer. The big thing here is we are going to look at, when we rebuild roads and do that sort of thing, we are also going to do water and sewer at the same time, so that we try to only dig up the road and or repair the road once. So when we were putting this project together, we tried to balance all of these things out. So that's a long answer, but the roads are in here. There's over $2.2 million in road repairs in here. So we are addressing them. This is a plan that gets updated every year. And these years out here, in year 10 through 20, honestly, They are our estimates right now. We don't know. But we at least have them on the docket so that we can address them.
Would you let another speaker come up first, Tom, and then we'll let you ask another question? Come on up, David. Come on up to the microphone. Oh. David, if you would come line up, then we'll know that you're here. Okay. Go ahead, Ray.
Ray Chastity from the Chippewa Way, and the entryway, we've talked about it for years. And is it on?
It is on. It's on. It's on. Just speak up.
Hello?
There you go.
Yeah, okay. We've been talking about this for many years, and I think it's a great idea. But I do have a couple of comments on the proposed design, and I realize it's a proposed design. But usually when you're driving around, all the signs are on your right. I think you should reconsider the sign on the left. And I'm a little concerned about the bicyclists coming into town, because right at that intersection, you're going to have to switch over to the other side. At the Tecumseh Road, they're going to have to switch back over. So those are just a couple of comments.
State your name. Thank you.
David Britton, West Branch Road. First of all, if I'm going to be limited to 3 minutes, I would urge the people who have negative comments to get approximately equal time to all the positive comments that we've heard so far. A number of us were very disappointed in the pedestrian village study. I voted for it. I voted $90,000, and I thought we were going to hear about improvements to the Schuss bus. I thought we might hear about running things on biofuel, marketing ourselves as a green community. I thought we might be hearing about things like golf carts that we could use. I assumed at the very least we would find some ways to reduce the number of times we drove our SUV over to get to Maine. None of that happened. If you remember, the presentation by the Pedestrian Village group was a very controlled presentation. We were not allowed to ask questions. We were routed through 4 corners of the road and, in my opinion, gagged. We were confronted with a glossy consultant's report that we never had a chance to examine. Right. The fact that this sign, the entryway, is the quote-unquote top priority of the pedestrian village study does not seem to me to speak to its advisability. That is, if they thought that was the top priority, they were even worse than I thought. Following on that, let me correct myself a little bit. I'm losing track. However, we have been told that putting that granite sign there is going to increase our property values. Is there any way to collect some evidence that that's going to happen? We have been told that putting that granite piece there is going to root people into the village, namely the town square area. And we're asked to believe that the problems that we have with the businesses are the result of our not having a sign and people not knowing that the village is there. We're talking about skiers coming in here for 3 months of the winter. The rest of the people somehow or other manage to find a golf course. The rest of the people somehow or other manage to find Wendy's very improved coffee emporium. What is this? Let's have some evidence that these wonderful benefits are going to occur.
Thank you, David. That's your 3 minutes. You've reached your 3 minutes, David.
I know I haven't, but David, they have 30 minutes.
The rules of order are such.
things when I was looking at your plan. You have all the monies allocated for the roadways, and there's one section for $300,000 in fiscal year 22 for the sidewalks. And from the costs that you're mentioning, there's no way you could do the sidewalks. And so this gets back to the question of if you're doing roadway improvements, you should incorporate the sidewalks as part of this. I think part of the problem with the plan that you're suggesting is it doesn't go far enough in showing what you're thinking about long term. Waterville Valley needs to have multi-use pathways on all the major roadways throughout the valley. It should be accessible for bikes and pedestrians. Waterville Valley is marketed as a family resort, yet at one point I came and I was shocked to see a graphic on the sidewalk that said a bicycle with an X through it. So to me that said Waterville's anti-bike, anti-pedestrian. Thank God you got rid of them. But I think if you really want to project the image of the town, I think you need to have a better plan on when you're going to implement the sidewalks, and they need to be throughout the community. And right now, from your chart, it's not till, if you're talking about the multi-use monies and the roadway surfacing, it's not till fiscal year 2028. So it seems to me that this needs to be redone in a way that kind of better explains how the money's going to be spent, what sections of roadways, what's your yearly budget to do some of these improvements, and I think that's an important part that makes the valley special. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Hi, I'm Patty Fergal, and I'm not sure who to ask this question of. If the sign does what they say it will do and bring more people into the valley, are we prepared, public safety, maybe Chief Noyes, this is for you, for that additional traffic, for the additional people coming in? Will there be additional patrols? Will there be additional traffic stops? Or do we expect additional crime?
Don't anticipate any.
Thanks, Patty. Come on up, anybody that hasn't spoken yet, and then, let's see. Come on up. This is Craig Larson coming to the microphone.
Hi, my name's Craig Larson. I'd like to speak in favor of the sign. Obviously, as a business owner, we already have our guests coming in when they get off the highway. The sign is not necessarily for the business owner. It's more for the residents and for us to succeed as the golf course, we need a healthy economy, a resident economy here. We need your property values to increase, and we need you to feel pride of ownership, and that's what this sign will do. I know we all don't like going to Florida, but Florida, if you ever go down to Florida, and I've been a past developer in past years, we spent a ton of money. The first thing we ever spent, the first $1 million we always spend on the sign and the entrance. The rest of it was down the road. So the entrances are very important. They say what we are. They raise the values, especially if the sign is a $60,000 or $70,000 sign, which is a lot of money. That will say something to what is on the other side of the sign. And I just think it will help everybody. And to answer David's questions, I'll guarantee I'll pay your taxes if your properties don't go. My only question is, the signs that are there today, where's Mark? Whose property are they on?
They're on the town's property. They were installed by the city.
I'm not trying to take their signs away, but if they're on the town property, they are owned by the town.
We already have started talking about fixing those signs or taking down. It depends on what gets built there, if any.
And my understanding was you were going to get rid of those directional signs.
We're going to work on all of the signage, as I said, to make them all work together.
Anyway, I think it's a no-brainer, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Bill Larson. Come on up, Andy. Get queued up.
So I'm speaking as a resident since I am no longer a selectman. All right? I've been a selectman and on the planning board in this town for, 20 years in total. And Mike said it, the property values are declining. Look around you. This is a way to start. That's all it is. And we're going to come back year after year after year for more money to invest in Dave's vision. That doesn't happen for nothing. This is a place to start. That's all it is. And I would thoroughly recommend you approve this and get started. We don't want to live in a 50-year-old town, which is what you're living in now.
Thanks, Bill.
Andy Knight, Wasatch Road. I live by the rule of Knight's Law of Derivatives, which says a certain number of people go past the sign, and a certain number of people, will end up staying. So if you think back to the first time you came here, for me it was in college driving up, and actually I always heard left. So it's probably in the early 80s I came and I went past the sign, and it stuck in my mind. It was actually Nancy and I came up for a weekend. And years later, I still remember getting up early. It was the first time I ever drank coffee with anyone. And that stuck in my mind somehow. And a few years later, when we had kids, we came back and we brought the kids for a weekend. And it was a great weekend. We put the kids in the kids' game. We came back the next week, and Nancy, who's not given to impulse, as most of you know, said, maybe we should buy a place. So getting people to go past that sign once or twice, that's the key to the future. I hate to say it, if we look in this room, the average age in this room is probably in the mid-60s now. We need that next generation coming past the sign. That's where your property rights are. So please support this thing. It's not the end, it's the beginning. I think Mark did a great job of presenting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. David, I'll give you a chance after everybody's had a first chance to speak, unless someone calls the question.
Dick Harris, Windsor Hill, and a few people know me from riding a bicycle, and that's when we talk about the signs for where you ride a bicycle and where you walk is very unclear. At least they should have a sign that is clear where you should ride your bike and where you should walk. Especially these international people who can't read, they can't understand it now. You know, this is a big safety issue, and they can check other towns how they do it if they want to find out to do this correctly.
Thank you.
I'd like to call it.
Okay, we have a motion to call the question on the floor. It requires a 2/3 vote. We have to vote on that first statement to call the question. Sorry, those are the rules. Please raise your card if you want to call the question. Seconded? Yeah, okay. We're going to vote on calling the question. All those in favor of calling the question? Okay, all those opposed? Oh, clearly we're calling the question. Okay. So we're going to bring this to a vote. Now this is Article 4. This is your yellow ballot. At this time, please mark your yellow ballot, yes or no, in favor or against the appropriation. The new town entrance and sidewalks and associated road improvements, Article 4, we're voting. Please stay in your seat, we'll get through Article 5, and then we'll take a quick break and deposit those ballots. Thank you. Moving on, do I hear a motion on Article 5?
Yes, you do. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 for engineering and capital improvement and repairs to the collection and distribution facilities associated with the existing drinking water well number 3. Authorize the issue $150,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
I'd like the audience to note that the selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article. And as it is a bond issue, our last bond issue, it requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. Now, Mark will do a short presentation on this article.
It's riveting TV, so if you've been watching the selectmen's meetings on YouTube and You know that starting last fall, we have an ongoing bacteria contamination at one of our drinking water wells, well number 3. Well number 3. Ongoing bacteria contamination. Our drinking water wells are, here's the Mad River. Here's well number 3 out here. This is North Face, Tecumseh. This is well number 2. Here's the bridge on West Branch Road, right? And then our new well is out here in the White Mountain National Forest. So those are our 3 drinking water wells. And the one we are having problems with is right here. That is well 3. So we had an E. coli contamination of that well. When we got the test results, obviously we took it offline. You are not drinking the water from well 3. Yeah, it is isolated. So we need to identify the cause of that contamination. We have continued to test the water at the well. The contamination is not going away. The E. coli is still there, and we do not know exactly why that is happening. So what we want to do is, with this project, we already have town engineers are working on this, as well as a hydrologist, the same person who helped us with well number 4. And what we are going to do, if you approve this bond issue, is several things. We are going to install a synthetic liner over the well. So I don't know if you've been out on the Mad River Trail, but there's a big hump right right along the trail. That is the wellhead. Okay, so the well is right underneath that big hump. So we are going to cover the area under that hump and out along the grass area there with a synthetic liner to keep contaminants from coming from above. We are going to install a fence all the way around there. So the area that has the liner on it will be isolated and people will not be able, because right now you can go and sit on top of the well if you want. So we need to stop that from happening. And then we have some lines that come out of the well. So the well is right here. We have this distribution line that comes out right by the bridge. We are going to seal this line as it's going into the well to make sure that nothing is coming back along the line back into the well. And then we are going to discontinue. There are several monitoring wells, small wells around that. Some of them are in disrepair. We're going to take those out and seal those up. Those are all possible sources of the contamination. So we are going to take those steps first, and then we are going to continue over the summer. After we get all of that work done, we will go back and we will continue to test it through the late summer and fall. If we have no contamination at all, no E. coli, no total coliform, no bacteria at all, then we will go on to doing some engineering work about how best to treat this water going forward. But our first goal is to control the contamination. The budget for this is somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 to do the improvements. That will depend on how much of an area we need to seal off. And then we are going to reserve about $50,000 for future engineering for the next step after we solve the contamination problem. I think that's all I have for you. Any questions on the well?
So now we'll open the discussion to the floor. Anybody want to come to the microphone? Have any questions?
I call the question.
I think you need to come to the microphone to say that. Sorry. It's okay. Next time. So I think we're ready. I don't think we need to call the question. It doesn't look like there is any discussion. So we're going to move to vote on this. Now, this is the last colored ballot that you have. It will get easier after this. Please mark your orange colored ballot for Article 5. And after you've done that, you can all get up and walk over to the ballot boxes and stuff them in, and please come right back to your seats.
Yes, Tim.
Are none of these surroundings that you make the same as are they?
We don't test those.
I thought that would have been the first thing you would have looked at.
Or
well, having tried only Is the hydrology fairly well understood?
Well, no, we actually, this well is never understood. We had some other, I feel like something that we could identify. We're afraid of recent drought and it's storm have actually and so the hydrology, that's why we tested it. So we could not identify any link, because that's what I was most worried about.
So it's replenished by...
It's groundwater.
It's
Right
not
now,
an active
that's what we're
flow.
Well, there's some kind of active flow that we're tapping into. But we really think the contamination is either coming down through the...
Well, yeah, it's E. coli. So that sounds like it's something. I know what E. coli is.
Right. But I'm surprised they don't make us do, they made us do that well before. We had to put up a fence there. I'm surprised they haven't done it to well 2 yet. So we're expecting so that's what we're trying to get. Not the Yes.
We're all done voting. Okay, people, if we could rearrange ourselves, take a seat. We want to continue. So the school and the rec department wanted me to let you know that there are some delicious soups out there if you haven't tried them. And they're still open. It's a fundraiser for the elementary school. We are going to have to keep this meeting open for an hour starting from 6:41. So we cannot dissolve this meeting until 7:41 because we have those 3 bond issues on the article, on the warrant. So, but still we have a lot more articles to get through, so we're going to move on now to Article 6. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the town vote to authorize the selectmen to enter into a 3-year lease agreement in the amount of $87,192 for the purpose of leasing a new public works dump truck with a new plow, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,800 from the general taxation for the first year's payment for that purpose. This lease agreement contains an escape clause.
Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
So the selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15, which is our fiscal 2018 budget. Now, from here on, I think the rest of the articles just require a simple majority vote. Jim or Mark Dakota is going to give us a short overview.
Can I just talk real quick about the entire budget before we start? Because all of these things are going to be related to what you're being asked to approve tonight. They're all part of the overall budget, and I think just knowing this information up front is probably a better way to approach this. So we have. So this is, if all of the articles were to pass this evening, this is what our operating budget would be for 2018. We have our department budgets are $3.7 million. The The projects, the 3 projects that we just considered are a total of $1,030,000. And these other warrant articles, like this lease agreement and all the ones before Article 15, right, come up to a total of $385,800. Okay, so the total amount that you are voting to authorize us to spend this year is $5.1 million. And that compares last year to $4.1 million. Same apples to apples comparison. So that is a $988,000 increase in the actual appropriations that you are approving. But because there is bond money, right, that revenue that we will get from selling the bonds, we are seeing additional revenues. So we're going from $1,400,000 to $2,400,000, about $971,000 more in revenue. And most of that revenue is from the bonds. Okay? All of this information is in the town report, all that you can look at. Starting just before the yellow section is where the town budget, all the line items are that we're gonna be talking about. Okay, so the bottom line is the actual amount of taxes to be raised is going up by $17,000, and that's $12.50 a year on a $250,000 property, up to a $750,000 property, $37.50. That is the total year tax impact of that $17,000. Okay? Just wanted everyone to, any questions on that before we start talking about the warrant articles themselves? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. The truck, the plow truck. We have a very old plow truck. Jim can attest, we are using plow trucks quite a bit, especially over the last couple of weeks. But this would replace our oldest plow truck. How old is it?
2008.
It's a 2008, so it's about 10 years old. And we have 2 of these trucks. They are 1-ton dump trucks. They have a plow and a wing set up on them. They carry a sander, a stainless steel sander on them. We are not replacing the sander. We replaced those a few years ago, and the one that we have right now is we're going to repurpose and reuse, but the plow gear on the front of this truck is probably 20 years old. It was on the previous truck before this one. So we are replacing the truck and the plow. It is a 3-year lease. All municipal leases must have an escape clause, which means it'll show up at the town meeting each year, but if town meeting decides that for whatever reason we don't want this truck anymore, we don't appropriate the money, and we turn the truck back in. That's part of the lease agreement. Not that we're going to do that, but it is a possibility. So, any questions on the plow truck for Jim?
Could you come to the microphone, please? We'll open it to the floor now for discussion. Anyone?
Michael Cal, nowhere there. I guess the question I have is this is a 3-year lease, which we could cancel at periodic times. What is the differential in cost for those 3 years as a lease as opposed to a purchase? Many trucks of this type, when you lease them for 3 years, you're basically paying 80, 85, 90% of the actual cost of the vehicle. Which would kind of make it stupid for us to cancel it. Is that the case here?
There is a cost. So there is a cost. Mark might have the. Yeah, I understand. There is a cost associated with leasing a vehicle. Obviously, there's some interest that has to be paid. So I don't have that exact number, and Mark is hunting for it. The truck itself is it's what they call a state bid. If normal contractors can't buy it, the same truck and the same money that the state can buy it for, we participate, and, huh? Yeah. Okay, so, I'm gonna guess three.
It's around 7%.
Around 7%.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do the lease. The lease is a little more expensive than bonding or borrowing for the truck, but it's because of the escape clause and the fact that if we, for some reason, needed a different type of truck or whatever, and we wanted to get out of this lease, it's not something
I understand,
that we are
but
committed
that's not the question mark. Question is, we're taking a 3-year lease with
Yes.
a 7% interest.
Yes.
A little high, but forget that for me.
Yeah.
The question is, what percentage of it, if I went out and I gave you the money,
Yeah.
all right, here's the money,
Yeah.
all right, and it's $70,000, $80,000, whatever the number is, and what percentage of that number compared to the 3-year lease number is it, so that are we really saving any money by doing it this way? If things change and you need a different truck, I can understand that philosophy, but we should understand what the differential between leasing and purchasing is. It's just a finance question.
I didn't get it. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because I didn't
Okay,
get the
that's
outright.
that's finance.
I didn't get the outright.
Finance.
Okay, are there any more questions from the floor? So seeing none, I think that we'll bring this to a vote. All those in favor of Article 6, please raise your voting card. All those opposed, please raise your card. Great, that's unanimous. Let's move on to Article 7. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $130,000 for capital improvements to the wastewater treatment plant HVAC system, aeration system, carbon filter system, and chemical feed pumps. Funds for these improvements will come from general taxation.
I have a second? Thank you. The selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15, our budget. This is a simple majority vote required here. Presentation, Jim or Mark? Anything to say? Add before we open it to the floor?
Our wastewater treatment plant is about 40 years old. Some of the equipment that we are planning to replace is original to the plant and needs to be done. The filter system we have replaced twice before within the 40 years. So we're getting anywhere from 10 to 15 years out of it's a carbon sand filter that we have at the plant that we are replacing. The aeration system is about 20 years old, so we are updating that. That is going to be a 3-year process. We're not doing it all in 1 year, but going in and doing it in sections. The HVAC system is original to the plant.
Thank you. Any discussion from the floor? Seeing none, we'll vote. Let's vote on Article 7. All those in favor, please raise your red card. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carried. Do I hear a motion on Article 8?
Yes, you do. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,000 for capital improvement to the town hall and engineering services on town buildings. Funds for these improvements will come from general taxation.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. The selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15. Anything to say?
We have a severe flooding problem in the downstairs meeting room at Town Hall. We have flooded that room out and had to replace the carpeting twice in the last 15, 16 months or so. So we need to address all of the foundation drains around the building. And we have some other interior improvements that we would like to make. Also, there is engineering money included in this, the $25,000, because if you look at the capital improvements program, there's a large municipal buildings project that is coming up in a few years. And what we want to start doing now is engineering studies as far as space needs and what we can do to our existing town hall to make improvements, or where we might be able to build something new if it becomes cost prohibitive to fix the existing building. So there's a lot included in this project, but that's what we have proposed the money for.
Okay, we'll open discussion to the floor. Anyone have questions, concerns? Okay, so let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of Article 8, please raise your red voting card. All opposed? Motion carries. It's unanimous. Article 9, do I hear a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $45,000 for the purchase of a new police cruiser. Funds from this purchase will come from the following sources: $25,000 from the capital reserve previously established for this purpose, $7,500 from the insurance reimbursement, and $12,000 from the December 31st, 2017 fund balance available on January 1st, 2018.
Do I have a second?
I second.
The selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15. Would you like to speak to this? Dave?
This is just a standard replacement of our cruiser. For those of you who don't know, our second cruiser that was due for replacement this year anyway caught fire. It was an electrical fire, and so we've been actually operating without a second cruiser for a few months now. So this is was already set to be replaced, but certainly more so now since we've been operating without one.
Thank you. Any discussion from the floor? So, seeing none, we'll move to vote. Please vote on Article 9. All those in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 10. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to the water and wastewater repair capital account, with said funds to come from the December 31, 2017 fund balance available on January 1st, 2018, and no amount to come from general taxation.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
The selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15. Anybody from our town employees or experts have anything to say on this before I open it to the floor? Jim?
We've established this fund either last year or a couple of years ago. What it does is, in case we have an emergency, such as a water main break, we have funds available in order to fix it. Thankfully, they seem to be slowing down. We did have one just this winter. So, or a sewer line break, or water repair, a sewer manhole at any given time throughout the year. So that's what these funds are used for.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have anything to say from the floor? Okay, so we'll take it to put it to a vote. We're voting on Article 10 now. All those in favor, please raise your voting card. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Article 11, we've had a request from 3 residents present to vote on Article 11 by private ballot, paper ballot. Let's start by reading the article. Do I have a motion?
Yes. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the support of the New Hampshire Independence Day Music Festival to be held in Waterville Valley on July 4th, 2019. Funds for this support will come from general taxation.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Margaret. The selectmen recommend approval of this article by a 2-to-1 vote, and this amount is not included in Article 15. Is there a presentation from anyone in town? Okay, Margaret?
I can give a presentation. Deb Kotz is from the New Hampshire Music Festival. Had planned to be here on Tuesday, but she could not make it tonight. And as many of you know, I am one of the primary supporters of having music and theater in Waterville Valley. This is just one thing, and also on the heels of our fantastic 50th year celebration last year, so many people came to us and said, you know, we ought to have things like this on a regular basis that bring people together. So this was the next idea that came up, and the intention of the New Hampshire Music Festival is to bring you a top quality music and, on a self-contained stage that will be set up to make the celebration easy, probably on Packard's Field. They bring the technology. They're going to bring a Boston pop style concert to the very special community of Waterville Valley. And they're talking about doing popular American music, not esoteric classical music. The Waterville Valley businesses could promote this special event throughout the summer and through the 2018-2019 winter. Essentially, the Waterville Valley Music Festival would be, the New Hampshire Music Festival would essentially be the vendor, but they are very interested in coming here. I don't know whether any of you participated in the classical music along our path last year, but they came up and they had various musicians, you know, on the bridges on the paths, and you could walk along and they would play music for you. So they're very interested here. They have almost half the money from private donors already. They're talking to the Waterville Valley Resort Association. They're talking to the Mountain. I know they would like to talk to the Waterville Foundation, and of course, any donations you would like to give privately are always welcome.
Thank you, Margaret. We'll open it. Oh, one more.
I just want to add to Margaret's excellent presentation. If this doesn't happen, since most of the money's got to be raised privately, we don't spend the money. We're not giving them money. It's only if the concert is actually held that they get the $10,000. And the $10,000 is the total cost of this is like $7,000. So there's a big hurdle to raise the money to do this. This is going to be this will be a big deal. With fireworks, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Very passionate. Okay, I'd like to hear from the floor. Come on up, Kathy.
I think it's a great idea. I was just wondering, going back to what we were talking about earlier with signage and getting young people in here, what age bracket do you know is music festival target? Are they trying to get that 30 to 40-year-old in here to see the valley, you know, get us into our town, or do you know what target age group is for this?
Margaret?
Yeah, Kathy, I don't personally know, but I know that certainly the event in Boston is extremely popular with all ages. Families come and bring their picnics and blankets, and that would be that kind of event. Yeah.
And it is free.
Yeah, come on up to the microphone. Vicki, you want to come up behind me?
How long is that? This could be a 2-hour event, an all-day event.
I would say, from what I've heard, the concert would be a half hour to 45 minutes just before our regular fireworks. And they would end with the 1812 overture and firing cannons and all of that kind of thing.
Vicki, did you have a question? You're all set. Any more discussion from our townspeople? Okay, so our supervisors of the checklist are passing out a ballot for you. This one's white. And you can mark this ballot the same way you marked the other ones. And then we'll collect it. This will go pretty quick. If everybody's marked their ballot, we'll collect them now. Do people in the bleachers have ballots too? Okay, make sure we get back there. Supervisors, give me the nod when you've got them all collected. Okay. So we'll move on to the next article while they're counting that vote, and then, if you would, when you have the results of the vote, if you could give it to me, and I'll report the results of Article 11. So in the meantime, we'll move on to Article 12.
I move that the town vote to establish a municipal solid waste truck capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35-1 for repairs to the current solid waste truck and or the purchase of a new solid waste truck, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed into the fund, with said funds to come from the December 31st, 2007 fund balance available on January 1st, 2018, and no amount will be raised by general taxation. Furthermore, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund.
Do I have a second?
I second.
The Selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this money is not already in Article 15. It's not included in Article 15. Any of our experts have anything to say before we open it to the floor? Jim?
Well, I know this isn't everybody's favorite topic, just like the wastewater treatment plant, but we do have a truck that is going to be in need of repair. We've repaired it already several times. We actually went through it and had it all taken apart and the rust taken care of, and it was repainted 2 years ago. The truck right now is in good shape. Problem is, it's going to cost somewhere in the vicinity of $250,000 to replace it. So what we would like to do is start putting money away in a capital account so that we have at least a portion of that within the next couple of years, and we need to purchase a new truck, and or if we need to repair it in the meantime, we have money available for it. Any questions?
We'll open it to the floor. Anybody? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. Let's vote now on Article 12. Please raise your voting cards if you're in favor. Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 13, do I have a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 to be added to the capital reserve accounts previously established as follows. The ladder truck capital reserve account, $20,000. The road repair capital reserve account, $40,000. This appropriation is to come from the December 31, 2017 fund balance available on January 1, 2018, and no amount to be raised by general taxation.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
The selectmen unanimously recommend approval of this article, and this amount is not included in Article 15.
Yeah, the road repair account, we used completely, we used all of the money in that account in 2017 making some road repairs. So we are starting to replenish that piece of it. And then the money that we're adding for the ladder truck, that project, that replacement is scheduled for next year. So we are adding to capital reserves in order to get ready for that recommended purchase next year. So that's what those two funds are.
Okay. So we'll open it to the floor. Are there any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. This is on Article 13. Please raise your voting card if you're in favor of Article 13. And all those opposed? Motion carries. Do I hear a motion on Article 14?
Yes, you do. I move that the town vote to adopt the provisions of RSA 72:81 regarding new construction property tax exemptions. Said exemptions to be applicable to commercial uses in all zoning districts except high-density residential and low-density residential. These exemptions will run for 10 years following new construction and to be 50% on an annual basis of the increase in assessed value attributable to the construction of new structures and additions, renovations, or improvements to existing structures of $50,000 or more in new assessed value.
Who wants to explain that?
I'll second it.
Do I have a second? Done that? Thank you. Okay. The selectmen approved this, and there's no money being appropriated for this article. Mark, did you have something to say?
A lot of legalese, which means that what we would do, except in the, like it says, except in the low-density residential zone and the high-density residential zone, if someone has a piece of property and they make improvements to that property, it doesn't matter how much they spend on actually doing the construction, but if they increase their total valuation by $50,000 or more, then they are eligible to apply to the Board of Selectmen for an exemption of 50% of their local property tax and their local school property tax. Their state school property tax and their county tax is not affected. It's just the local school and town, okay? And they get that 50% reduction for a period of 10 years. We did the math, and if somebody did a construction project, either new construction or renovation, whatever, and they added $2 million to their property value, they would be eligible for up to $10,000 a year at our current tax rate, $10,000 tax exemption for that 10-year period. But that fluctuates depending on what the tax rate is, okay? But if that remained constant over that 10 years, they would have $100,000 in tax exemption. On the other side of that, the town would be realizing $100,000 in new tax revenue. So they only get 50% of the new value, okay? Any questions?
So we'll open it to the floor. Come on up, David.
Question. The areas that will not get this exemption would be individual homes, and the areas that would get this exemption would be something like a hotel?
Correct. Yes.
Correct. A hotel, a business. An example would be if the athletic club wanted to put a big addition on there. Say the athletic club was assessed at $1 million today, and it gets assessed at $2 million after they're done with the assessment. Their tax bill for the town and the school district would only be $1.5 million for the 10-year period. And that's the only way we could find to develop and create any kind of incentive in the town to bring someone in to do some new building and new development. The state has got severe mandates and it has to apply to specific zones and all properties in those zones. And that's why we excluded residential properties. So hopefully we'll get someone to come in and develop some of these lands or expand on some of the things they've got and add to our tax base, which will keep our taxes more in line. And it's just the only thing we could come up with right now to try to keep this in line and try to move forward with it.
And all three of you recommend it.
Yes.
Any discussion? Come on up.
Just one question. Is there a sunset time for this? Does it end at any time? Or is it still
10 years.
Oh, no.
Well, there's no exemption going forward on this until we decide as a town to repeal it or change it.
Right. Yeah. No sunset.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of Article 14, construction property tax exemptions, commercial use? All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Before we move to Article 15, which is our budget, we do have the results for Article 11, which, if you remember, was the New Hampshire Independence Day Music Festival to be held, top sponsor by the New Hampshire Music Festival. And Article 11, ladies and supervisors, that passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Article 11 passes. Okay, so now we'll move on to the big number, the big ticket item. Article 15, town budget.
I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $3,726,006 for general municipal operations. This article does not include appropriations from any of the preceding articles.
Do I have a second?
I second.
This is the general fund operating budget for fiscal year 2018. We're just going to take questions from the floor now, and they'll answer them as you bring up the questions if there are any. So I'll open it to the floor. Does anybody have anything to say about this almost $4 million number? Kind of reminds me of the daffodils. Yeah. Yes. They say the smaller the item, the longer you deliberate it. The bigger the item, the less length of time. So I'm going to move that we vote on this, seeing no discussion. All those in favor of the municipal fiscal year 2018 budget for the town, please raise your voting card. And all those opposed, please raise your card. I see none. Motion carries. And now we're going to move to Article. Oh, yes. Wait a minute. Okay. Moderator would like to recognize Margaret Turner.
I move to limit reconsideration of all votes taken to this point.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay. This motion requires a simple majority vote. Do people understand what restricting reconsideration means? It means we won't go back and revisit all the votes that we've taken this evening. Okay. So please vote on that now. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration? All those opposed? Okay, one, so noted. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to Article 16. To hear the reports of agents, auditors, and committees of officers chosen, and to pass any vote relative thereto. Are there any motions on this article? No. Hearing none, we will pass over Article 16. Article 17. To transact any other business as may legally come before the meeting. Moderator would like to first recognize Mike Aronson.
Hi, everybody. What I would like to do is take a moment. Where's the window photographer? To recognize Bill Larson for all of his service.
But I do have another item.
Yes, we have several. Okay. We will recognize you. Okay.
There has been a suggestion that we might want to consider moving town meeting away from the vote on Tuesday and actually moving the town meeting portion of the day to Saturday, so that people who are they're not necessarily residents, but they are property owners, and they can get here a little bit easier. So what we'd like to do is, the suggestion was to take a sense of the meeting only at this point, to see how many people think that might be a good idea. Because to do it, to actually change the date, we'd have to come back to the next town meeting and actually vote formally in the form of an article. So this is only a sense of the meeting. How many people might be in favor of moving town meeting day to a Saturday afternoon as opposed to holding it on the Tuesday evening following the actual vote?
Okay, so Brenda, would you like to make a motion?
Oh, okay.
I move that we take a sense of the meeting to see if the townspeople would be amenable to changing annual town meeting from Tuesday night to Saturday.
Do I have a second?
Well, I'll second.
Moving the town meeting from our usual Tuesday night to Saturday would help the non-residents who do feel disenfranchised least the ones I've talked to, and also people who work. It's a little unfair for people who work, whether they work in the valley or not. And also, it's a very hard time for school age for children. It's the bewitching hours for them, 5:30, 6 o'clock on a weeknight. They've got homework and dinner and everything. So we're just trying to get a sense of how many people think this is reasonable. So unless there's any discussion, Mike? Yes. Yes.
So at the school board vote, we had a whopping 19 people show up. So I would like to also see if we can combine these meetings to have the school and the town deliberative session at the same time.
We'll have to look at the laws around that, Mike.
I was also one of the people that took the board meetings I had.
Yeah.
My husband was there.
Right. So those are the reasons.
This is not the voting.
This is just to take a sense of people.
No. It's just this deliberative session. It's not the ballot voting. That still has to be on Tuesday.
Right. The official ballot election that we did on Tuesday will still take place on Tuesday. We have enough hours open during the day, and if you can't be here, you can get an absentee ballot. But you can't do that for the deliberative session, which is the town meeting that we're at now. So it's just the town meeting that we're proposing to move to Saturday afternoon at 3.
And I'd like to include the school meeting there too. I know Mark told me that Warren does that, so there's no law.
Okay, so let's take a vote on that. It's just for a sense of the meeting. Oh, one more comment?
Visitors allowed to vote on this?
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by visitors. We've always allowed non-resident property owners, and beyond that, I don't think anybody else would have. No, not in the sense of the meeting. Yeah. Go ahead, Nina.
Do you have any numbers from the past of how many
Non-resident property owners?
Because most people, we are property owners, but we don't vote. People ask me all the time when I come.
Yeah, I think if we, but it's what we're trying to do is include people like you better. Well, they're more likely to be here on the weekend during ski season than they are Tuesday night if they don't live here. Yes, we'll give them more of a chance. And that was our number one concern, because I have personally heard from a lot of property owners who aren't residents, and they do feel a bit disenfranchised. Yeah, so that's one of our main reasons. So, could we just take a sense of the meeting? All those who think it would be a good idea to move the town deliberative session and possibly even the annual school district meeting to be determined, but this will inform the selectmen going forward. All those in favor, please raise your voting card. All those opposed to the idea of moving? Ooh, okay. Can we re-vote that? We're going to have to. Can I get the supervisors up here to help Tom? Yeah. So come on up in front. So once again, the supervisors up front. Yeah, why don't you guys take this aisle? Reggie, you take that, and then you guys take it back. Okay. So all those in favor of moving the deliberative session town meeting to Saturday at 3, please raise your cards. Including.
We got 7 back here.
7. And what'd you get, Reg?
9.
Okay, so we have 28 in favor. And now may I please have a show of hand for those opposed to moving town meeting to Saturday? No. Okay. 10. 8. 6:21. So the motion, the sense of the meeting vote passes 28 to 21. So it's not a done deal. The selectmen are going to investigate it, and next year we'll have more say on the subject.
So if we decide not to move these to Saturday, I still think it would be valuable to combine the town meeting and the school meeting, again, because we just have such low attendance at the school meeting, unless there's something controversial, like busing. Take that out, and again, it wasn't controversial, but nobody had any input to the school meeting. Could I get a sense of, if we don't have moving Saturday, if we could combine the two meetings so everybody can be involved in the school?
I did roll that in.
No, but if
School
we don't
district.
get going on Saturday, can we still combine on Tuesday?
How much time did you need?
That's
Fine. It took an hour.
So would it be adding an hour here, or would it be some kind of?
It depends,
Depends on.
Right.
okay. So let's take a sense. If we did end up keeping town meeting at Tuesday night, where we've had it in recent years, would you be interested in seeing us include town meeting and the annual school district meeting together that night?
Pretty good, because the voting will be Monday and the meeting on Tuesday.
Voting Tuesday and meeting Tuesday. Voting Tuesday, official ballot is Tuesday and the meeting Tuesday. If we stayed with the regular plan, except that Mike's asking to add the school district meeting to the deliberative session of of town meeting. Is that clear for everybody? Okay, could we just take a sense on that? How many would be interested in seeing that happen, rolling this annual school district meeting and that deliberative session town meeting together on Tuesday night, if we don't move it to Saturday afternoon? Thank you. Point of order. Okay. Let's see how close it is. Can I see those opposed? That will carry. Okay. So, selectmen are advised that this is the, that this is the mood of our townspeople. Okay. So,
We got 2 minutes.
okay. Well, we're in luck. So, Reggie, did you have something you want to say about the creation of the Waterville Valley Historical Museum? We're just about to report the results of Articles 3, 4, and 5. Our 1 hour is almost timed up.
Last year at our
Reggie.
Last year at the town meeting, I spoke about, Reggie Breckman. And last year at our town meeting, I spoke about the possibility of us forming a museum. And what we've done since that meeting was talk to a lot of people about how that would actually happen. And we came to the conclusion the best way to approach that would be to form a historical society. And after trying to figure out how to do that, we just last week got a board of directors. We are now sent out our papers to become incorporated, and we have a post office box. We have membership forms, and we are applying for our 501c3 status. So we are on the way, and you'll hear more about. There's going to be an article in the Green Flag, and you'll have the opportunity to join the society and hopefully help out with its creation and the preservation and the collection of all of our documents. And then eventually we will have a museum. Maybe start out with an online one where people have access to what we have, and then go on to something with exhibits, maybe traveling, and then maybe have a building eventually. And that's it.
Thank you. We're going to close the ballot boxes for Articles 3, 4, and 5, our bond issues, in 1 minute. Our hour will be up. And who knows, with our Waterville Valley Historical Museum, and the fact that we have to dig up the dam, we may find some ancient artifacts there to include in our new museum. Yeah, could be great. Okay. 20 seconds. Is there anyone else who has something to inform us?
Yes, I would like to know something.
Okay, Mike?
We have a lot of open positions. on conservation, ZBA, planning board. There are all kinds of opportunities where I think by coming here, if your first time coming here today, you've seen how a small town works and how your voice really means something. So we could use your help or any of your neighbors or anyone who'd like to volunteer for any of these boards. Please come and see us because it would be a worthwhile thing to do and very much appreciated.
Thank you. May I have the results of Article 3, 4, and 5 to read? Yep. Okay. Do we even remember what Articles 3, 4, and 5 were about? So Article 3 passes almost unanimously. Well, I guess that's a misnomer. Passes very clearly. That was the $250,000 for the construction of a new town entrance. And I'm sorry, no, that's 4. No. Okay, Article 3 is the dam work where we're going to find those ancient artifacts soon. That passes handily. Article 4, that is the $250,000 for the construction of a new town entrance and sidewalks and associated road improvements. That passed as well, 50 to 24. And Article 5 passed 72 to 1. Article 5 is the capital improvement and repairs for the existing drinking water well number 3. So all 3 of those articles, 3, 4, and 5, passed.
Is that a simple majority?
No, they were 2/3.
They have to pass by 2/3, yes. And it was close on Article 4, but it was 2/3. The supervisors double-checked it. It was just, it was 50 to 24 on Article 4. Article 3 and Article 5 were 72 yes and 1 no. Yeah, Article 3 and Article 5 were both 72 yeses and 1 no. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
And don't forget these wonderful soups out back. I know everybody's hungry. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Thank you.